Considering the vast amount of items that can be purchased in Dota, it was inevitable that I would have to get around to talking about the one that practically defines quite a bit of the average mid-game and late-game matches, especially in our current meta. This week's video will go over Black King Bar, also known as BKB, why you should consider procuring it, and what makes it such a borderline broken item when taken into perspective. So let's look at BKB from the ground up, starting with the basics. The build up to BKB is fairly simple, requiring as little as an Ogre Axe coming in at 1000 gold, paired with a Mithril Hammer at the cost of 1600 gold, resulting in an item that has a total gain of 10 plus strength and 24 damage once completed. What hurts about purchasing BKB in this instance is the recipe, which has been a marked increase in price due to the power of the item. It currently stands at a sky high cost of 1450 gold, higher than that of a Radiance recipe. This amounts to a total cost of 4050 gold, which, if we purely look at it from a stats provider point of view, the item is inherently absolutely abysmal. So why exactly then would this item be borderline broken then, right? The avatar effect of BKB, or in simple terms, becoming magic immune for a set duration of time. Starting at 9 in duration for the first use, going down to 6 after subsequent uses, with 90-second cooldown that costs 50 mana, Black King Bar effectively does something no other item in the game does. If we are to directly compare the full price of BKB for its 4050 gold cost, you can get a Sanction Yasha for only 50 gold more, which has 16 plus strength, 16 plus agility, 20% status resistance, 10% movement speed bonus, 12 attack speed, 22% health regen amp, 22% lifesteal amp, and it has a much better cost efficient build-up with no recipe attached to it. It really does say a lot about the item given how bad those before mentioned base stats are from a cost point of view. The item is very much still considered mandatory on a large amount of the cast. The pure reason why to get the item and why the item is what it is. Provided you're against magic damage and it hurts, and it's a variety that doesn't penetrate magic immunity in the first place, BKB will render set abilities completely null. I want you to do a little thinking experiment with me on this one. Lean back a bit, think about all the heroes that are present in the entire game and how many spells they have available to them. Good. Now think about how many of those heroes, who lose most if not all of their arsenal against someone who can use an ability like this. Coming into a mid-game scenario, having acquired a lot of gold or streaks, it becomes increasingly more important not to die, especially as a core player in this game. The most common thing you will die to as a player is being blown up by stuns and magic damage, which does happen to be the one thing Black King Bar on average makes you immune to. It is this immunity that allows you to wreak havoc on heroes that would otherwise prove meddlesome to you. An Ursa that formerly was being kited a lot by Crystal Maiden or Lion will suddenly be able to gap close them without a blink, with set supports having literally no option of retaliation. Not a single one of their spells can even be used on Ursa while he has BKB activated. I've often described BKB as an item being your entry ticket into playing your hero in a game. A lot of low rank players like to stack up powerful items, and hey, I get it. Seeing large numbers, high crits, loads of spell damage is incredibly fun. I mean, there is a reason why people like Cookie Clicker on average. The problem when it comes to Dota, however, is that more often than not, in order to execute your build, you need to at the very least have a BKB present on your hero, or you won't be able to dish out any damage at all. Your SNY and Daedalus are going to look mighty impressive in your inventory, but they're not going to do you a whole lot of good as the supports disallow you to literally use any of them due to locking you down. If you've ever played a game like Path of Exile or any other ARPG for that matter, I find it to be much the same thing going on when talking about softcore and hardcore modes for these games. People love playing softcore because they can waddle around, hit things, and have a good time. If you do play hardcore on the other hand though, you suddenly can't dedicate yourself truly into just doing damage anymore. You suddenly have to be a lot safer and thoughtful with your build, because if you do die, that's it. Game over, start over, minus 30 MMR. There's also the argument that some people use that BKB isn't a fun item. And while they're obviously right in the stat department, the fact that you're not only able to play your hero properly by purchasing it, but also being a massive threat in any fight you decide to show up in, kinda renders that point moot. It's a winning item. Losers always whine about doing their best. Winners go home and buy BKB. Which heroes indeed? This is actually one that's quite hard to answer because it isn't just as simple as only cores get BKB. On average though, if you do play core, ranging anything between position 1 to 2 to 3, you'll want a BKB sometimes in mid game. The item is incredibly powerful for you and allow you to not only participate and be safe in fights, but also threaten just about every objective. Fighting into an Ursa that has a BKB is so much scarier than one that doesn't. Generally speaking though, if you are a hero that needs to channel their abilities, such as an Enigma or a Crystal Maiden, the one thing often preventing you from doing such a thing is a stun flying at you and cancelling your ability, usually from a support. While there are certain abilities such as Warlock's ultimate, a Vengeful Swap or Silencer ultimate that will deny your ability to get these channels off, most of the time your BKB will keep you nice and safe as you're doing the ultimate that can potentially win the game. It is therefore important to know which few spells there are that can deal with it. Likewise, when it comes to most cores, especially the ones that want to jump into the thick of it, like Ursa, Troll Warlord, Faceless Void, and yes, despite her fitting every position, Marcy, these heroes benefit an insane amount from having BKB available to them. I highly encourage people to go back in their recent replays, look at the games that didn't get BKB, especially if they were core games, and try to imagine what difference there would have been if they could have become magic immune with a BKB. Maybe the Frostbite from Crystal Maiden would be an issue, or maybe you were against Dark Willow that was constantly getting you killed with her Curse Crown or feared by her ultimate. These are the kinds of things that BKB can prevent. Hi! As always, I hope you found this week's video useful. Black King Bar is an amazing item that pretty much defines a lot of things in this day and age of Dota, so it's important to come to terms with the importance of even acquiring it. What are your thoughts on BKB? Do you think it's too powerful, perhaps even overrated? Let me know in the comments below. As always, you can catch me live on Twitch TV/FabKyobashi from Monday to Friday. Now go out there and wreak hell on the battlefield with a much powerful magic immunity.